All right, guys, I'm gonna see if we can show you guys how to set up a custom profile for these storage modes. You can see I have LiPo battery. I set these other profiles up. So I'm gonna set up another one here. So what we do first is we hit the tab. Once we click on the big button here, it'll bring up this page. Click on this, roll down to manage. What do I want to do? I'm set with the LiPo one right there, so I'm going to add. Now you'll see right here, memories is being set up. So what do? It's follow here. Type is LiPo. You have to click this to whatever you want to change, but we're going to be using LiPo. Scroll down to cells. You can do auto, or I typically like to set it to cells. Capacity, let's say I'm setting this up for a 6400 milliamp battery. So just scroll the wheel, 6400. Now what I want to do over here is roll the dial so you get to this. So that's my charge I'm going to set up. You have to hit this once. Now I'm setting up the charge portion of this. So I want to charge at 2C. So for a for a 6400 milliamp battery, that is, you see the amps, it's showing you the C. So it's 12.8. My charge current. See how the C is going up? So boom, boom, boom. So 12.8 is 2C. I'm going to do a normal balance. For the end current, what I like to do is move it to end current and detect balance. Always going to go down back. Now, as far as change end current, I leave that at 5 for whatever reason. I don't know. The charge cell volts, 4.2 I found with my charger. For whatever reason, the calibration is slightly off and it only charges to 4.19. So what I do is I put this up to 4.22 and my batteries will come in at like right about 4.2 or 8.41 max. So they'll always be meet tech. All right, so we set up the charge portion. Now we're gonna go to storage. Where do you like to store your batteries at? I like to do mine at 3.85 per cell. It comes as a standard here in the pack, so that's fine. Leave it at 3.8 volts. I don't touch anything there. Discharge, this is where it gets, you gotta figure out what we want to do. All right, I want to discharge at 2C as well, so discharge current, excuse me. I do the same thing, bring it up to 12.8 amps. Now on the Icharger itself, it'll only handle 80 watts per channel. For a 2-cell battery, that's about, 80 watts, which is like about 10 amps with an 8-cell battery here, with a 2-cell battery, Jesus. So anyway, let me getting ahead of myself. So 12.8 amps, that is 2C. The voltage, where do I want to go down to? 3.5. I normally like to go down to 3.6 because it takes a long enough time as it is. But end current, I don't even bother. Now this is how you set up the discharge bank, which is connected to channel 2, the regenerative mode. You want it to input. You have the options of input to channel or off. I want to do the channel because this is channel 2. So I click here, scroll over, set. It goes to resistance or bulbs. The discharger is resistance or bulbs. It could be to another battery or resistance or bulbs. So I clicked on resistance or bulbs. The voltage limit, I bring it all the way up to 24 volts. Or 40, I should say. Whatever, 24, 25. My current limit, I'm not doing 40 amps, but you set this all the way up. I'm only doing 20 amps. Sorry, 12.8 amps, I should say. Get back. Back. Now cycle, this is what I talk about when I go cycling. You can do a different, set up different cycle modes. So this is charge, discharge right now. That's the first option. Just change these around. You can discharge, charge. That's if you're out in the field and you had, 40 minutes or so between rounds, and you can go discharge down to the voltage we set at 3.6, and then back up to charge, which is 4.2 or 4.22 in my case, to get it to 4.2. Then what I do is when I'm at home, cycling batteries once a month, you can do charge, discharge, storage mode. You always want to leave batteries in storage mode. I do discharge, charge, store. We set up the charge rate, we set up the discharge rate already. Now as far as cycles, I just do one because I don't need to run three, and I don't have 3 hours to do it. Delay time doesn't matter. I'm not doing multiple cycles, but normally you would set that at 0. If you're doing 40 amp, high discharge and charge rates, you definitely want to give it a minute to rest. Batteries like it hot, but not too hot. So it's just delay, back. Now we're all done here. If you can see, it's doing a LiPo 2-cell, 6.4 volts or 6400 milliamp battery, and it's doing a 12.8 amp charge and discharge. If you were doing a charge of, let's say, 10 amps, and then a discharge of 12 amps, it would say 12.8, or it would say 10 and 12.8. So it would have another option there. So, or just another display. So we hit save here. Now you see what I did here? I basically just duplicated what I had. So that is how you set it all up. Now when you go to charge this, see how it's all set up now? Charge 12.8 amps, 2C. Storage 3.8485, discharge 12.8 amps, 2C, cycle, it shows you where it's set. Balance only I never really use, but tab to go back. But if I wanted to set this up to do it, which I'm going to because I'm doing a battery, I go to cycle, discharge, charge, store, hit this, it'll allow me to start, yes. Takes a second to ramp up. Now you can use this status button to cycle between checking the internal resistance, the timing of the cycle, how many watts, all that good stuff. So as you can see, it's just powering up right now. This is the battery. This is the discharge bank, what it's taking, or the load info. So you can see it's slowly creeping up for wattage. Let's look over here. And you can see these two should equal the power watts. There you go. So you can see how the amperage is creeping up. It's now discharging at 12.8. It should be. That's what I set it for. And it's all going into the other bank. So eventually you'll see this thing over here, discharger, will light up and take all the power out. It starts to get warm once it's discharging. And the fan will go on and keep it nice and cool. Now this discharge bank is a Lightner Hobbies. It's actually got a power wire that's connected to the power source, which supplies the power to the fan. A lot of other times these things is either fan on or fan off. This is kind of a smart fan where it goes on and keeps everything cool, so this thing isn't 200 degrees and you know sits there and burns up your table. So anyhow, that's it. You can see channel 1, channel 2, here the fan goes on, the light goes on. So excuse me. What you got to be worried about with these things is they only handle 80 watts per channel. As you can see with the 4900 milliamp battery at 12.8, we're pulling it's 94 watts. So that's not good for the Icharger. It'll actually give you an error message if you're discharging that high. It'll only typically handle, which if I can cycle 2 batteries at the same time if I just use about 10 amps or 9 amps. So I will charge at 9 amps, discharge at 9 amps, and run my cycles. And that allows me to run 2 batteries, one here, one there, without using the discharge bank. Once you go past 10 amps for a 2-cell battery, which is going to give you 80 watts, you're good to go. But anyhow, if you have any questions, just reach out.